Hey, welcome. It's Adam with Off Grid on the Palouse. It's August 8th, 2026. It's kind of breezy, kind of hot, kind of smoky, kind of August here in the inland Northwest. And today I wanted to have some fun talking about our payback time for our solar. Before I jump on up to the solar panels, give you a quick rundown on what's been happening with our house site. So our designer and builder, Isaac, and his crew have been doing a great job. I think you saw before that the walls were poured a week or two ago, and then last week we poured the foundation, actually just a few days ago. We started with the east side here that we're looking at, and then we did the west side of the foundation. That space is going to be conditioned, so we insulated it with, I believe, 4 inches of insulation, and things are coming out really great. We're super excited. And so now I'll just walk up to the solar panels and give an idea on what we were dealing with for getting our power potentially from the grid. Hey, so I'm up at the solar panels. I wanted to come provide this perspective to show you guys what we would have been dealing with if we were to have received power from the grid. You can see our neighbors off to the west. Zoom in on their pole that they get power. Another neighbor to the north. And I'll try to zoom in on a pole that basically the power company said that is the area where we would have to get a drop to then continue power on adjacent to the road and then to our house. So basically we would have had to dig a trench in the road, the side of the road, come up our driveway, and then continue on to our home site. And I believe that's a total of about 800 feet. So the power company ended up giving us a quote of about 25 to maybe $27,000 to go the 800 feet. That would not have included any of the trenching work that had to be done to make it all happen. It was basically for 2 poles, stringing the wire, and giving us power to the home site. So that $27,000 cost is basically what I'm using to help us understand how long might it take us to pay back our $60,000 solar system, because we needed to get power to the site. We were looking at a baseline of $27,000, let's say, to get grid power, and then we can do some math and try to figure out how long it might take us to break even or pay back the cost of the panels.
So I put this together to try to exhibit what our solar payback estimate might look like. So again, cost of our PV solar setup with the panels, inverters, batteries. The initial cost was about $60,000, but we did have the 30% federal tax credit and roughly $2,000 Idaho state credit. So that brings it down to about $42,000. Again, our estimate to get power connection from the grid would have been about $27,000. Therefore, the difference is $15,000. So the question that I was asking is, how long might it take us to make up that extra cost of going solar? Okay, so again, the difference is about $15,000. Here are some of our potential costs that we would have faced if we had gone with the grid, and now what we'd be saving by going off grid and solar. So to get our grid power, there'd be a $40 a month hookup fee, plus I'm estimating about a $100 a month power bill. That would come up to $1,680 annually. We would be using the solar to power and heat our greenhouse. That would save about $500 in propane costs. The fact that we have our EV and that we would be charging from the solar panels, I estimated about $450 worth of savings in not having to pay gas. Of course, that's lower than I might have thought it was going to be, but the fact is we would be fast charging occasionally on road trips, and that's what brings that figure down a little bit. So our total annual savings would be roughly $2,600. If you divide that by the $15,000, that comes out to be a payback of about 5.7 years, which I find to be pretty darn amazing. So of course there are some variables that could influence, that real payback time. Some things that might make the payback time longer, or some cons are that sure, eventually we'll need to replace some of the solar components. I believe the inverters though are warranted for 10 years. The panels should last us at least 25 years. Additionally, there'll be a potential need to service the equipment periodically. I am far from an electrician, so we'll probably have to get someone out to work on it intermittently over the years. That said, there are some things that could make the payback time even quicker. Some pros. The grid electric rates, they'll likely only continue to rise over time. I think we're seeing that everywhere across the country. The Northwest is not going to be any different. Gas prices are likely to stay the same, or I would say more likely rise in the future. Additionally, the cost that we currently pay for propane to help keep the greenhouse heated, those costs would only continue to rise as well. So my guess is that that estimate of 5.7 year payback time is actually likely to be lower than what I've stated, but I wanted to try to do it conservatively. So thanks for watching. Love to get some of your thoughts on what I may have missed for some things that would be negative and make our payback time longer, or conversely, some things I might have missed that would make our payback time even shorter. Leave some comments down below and have a great day. Thanks.